What I'm about to show you is too much for you right now. Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz just gave us the biggest XRP future hints in years. Swift is officially testing XRP and HAR in real time, and now CME data shows growth levels that should make every XRP user take notice. This isn't an idea or a guess. It's real knowledge from Ripple's leaders and the institutions that are getting ready to use XRP on a large scale. Get ready, because this might be the start of XRP's next big move. I'm not telling you what to do with your money. As I watched these new videos of Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz together, there was something that caught my attention right away. Hype wasn't what they were talking about. Price forecasts were not what they were talking about. They were talking about usability, which is what made the internet go from a niche tool to something everyone needs. It was a great comparison by Schwartz. Before Mosaic and Netscape were created, there were very few people who actually knew how to get onto the internet. A lot of people started using it only after computers made it easy. Ripple knows that the same thing is true here. If XRP is going to be used by billions of people, it can't just be a cool technology. It should be so smooth that people can use it without knowing they are using blockchain. Let me quickly jump in here, because if you want to place yourself in the same way that institutions are about to, you need to know what makes winners different from losers in these cycles. That's why I wrote Find 100x Stocks, the best guide for a rich investor. A full plan that includes papers, pictures, movies, and other things. This isn't just a surface level summary. This information will change your view on investments for good. The saved comment below links all of it. Be sure to look at it after you finish this video. Also, use my Robinhood link to make a $1 payment and get your free NVDA stocks worth up to $200. You can get those free shares and keep them in under 5 minutes. Make sure you get that before it goes away. What Schwartz said now. He said that in most developed countries, people can quickly move their money in and out of crypto. But what about all the people who don't have easy on-ramps and off-ramps? There are billions of them. That's what Ripple is all about, creating passageways and real solutions that don't just look good on paper, but really do fix issues with sending money around the world. Consider it. If you live in Mexico, the Philippines, India, or Africa, sending and getting money is more than just a hassle. It costs a lot of money. Ripple's passageways, which use XRP, make it right away and cheap. That's not what hype is, that's useful. Utility is what it's all about in the end. Brad Garlinghouse made this point even better. He said that we are now at the same level of thought as the internet was in the early 1990s. No one knows or cares about the inner workings of SMTP anymore. They just hit send when they email. Similarly, no one should need to know how XRP ledgers work in order to send money to other countries. Ripple is working to make that happen. It's not about if people will use crypto anymore. It's about how quickly they'll become unaware of their use of it. Now, this next part is very important. David Schwartz also talked about cybersecurity and hacking. He made it clear that scams are all over the place. Discord, Telegram, YouTube, and X. You also can't trust texts from people you don't know. His advice was to treat everyone who contacts you as a scammer until you find out they're not. People need to hear that kind of honest truth. Ripple is calling for stronger security. And this is important because organizations won't invest a lot of money into this method unless they have faith in the setting. And keep this in mind, Schwartz was around during the internet crypto wars in the 1990s. The US government actually saw encryption as a tool at the time. He even had to get a permit to send software out of the country. People fought and won, allowing the internet to grow without restrictions. He said that war was like the fight going on now with rules for crypto. This is about who has power. And it's about what the US will do. Will it step up and lead innovation again, or will it sit back and let other countries take the front seat? Let's discuss Brad Garlinghouse now. He's okay for all those who have been curious about his whereabouts. He is right to take a breath after a brutal 4.5-year fight against the most powerful US government body. Think about how much weight Ripple just lifted. The SEC case lasted for years, delaying the use of Ripple, scaring off investors, and putting Ripple in the middle of a firestorm. Ripple, on the other hand, came out ahead. The fact that this company was able to do that and the long-term promise of XRP should tell you something. This is the point at which it gets even bigger. SWIFT, the global banking union that handles trillions every day, is now getting ready to test XRP and HAR in real time in November. Read it once more. As the mainstay of global money transfers, SWIFT is about to test XRP in a real-world setting. If you don't really want to test something, you shouldn't do it. Does that mean they will only choose XRP? Most likely not. They won't want to be limited to one payment asset, but the fact that XRP is even being tested means they know how powerful it is. Chainlink is also working with Swift on ways to connect blockchains to older computer systems, but this is the important part. A settlement token is still needed for those links. Value transfer is also needed, not just messages. That's exactly what XRP was designed to do. That's why so much could be done here. We should remember the liquidity routes that are already active. US Mexico with BITSO, plus the US Philippines, Japan, Australia, India, and the UAE. This isn't planning. These are live pathways for moving money across using XRP as the bridge. It has taken Ripple years to build these pathways, and they all show how institutions can quickly scale up their real-world use. Now, even more thrilling things are going to happen. Futures info from CME. Keep in mind that CME is the biggest place in the US to trade futures. And when XRP futures was put on the market earlier this year, it instantly had the third best start ever after only Bitcoin and Ethereum. On the first day, XRP futures had over $19 million in notional volume, which is more than Solana's $12 million launch. Just 2 months later, CME open interest for XRP has skyrocketed. It was about 4,700 orders in the beginning of August. It reached 6,000 orders by the end of the month. In just a few weeks, there was a jump of 1,300 contracts, which shows that a lot of institutions are convinced this will work out. And this is the crazy part. Almost half, 45% of that trade amount is from countries in North America. This means that the need for XRP is growing quickly around the world. And yes, that's a market of $7.5 trillion a day when you consider that Ripple already takes care of 90% of the infrastructure needed for foreign exchange. The possible size here is one of a kind in crypto. This isn't about guessing, it's about actual organizations getting ready to connect. Now, some of the traders are looking at the charts and saying that the structure is coming together. Cassie Trades' latest post says that XRP's golden retracement is holding at the 618 level of about $2.88. This level is in line with standard Elliott wave setups. If that stays true, it could lead to subwave 3, which is the biggest move in the cycle. This points to resistance around $3.41. If you don't want to have to look at charts, the main thing to get from this is that the market is strong at important levels while news about adoption is coming out. That is the line you want to see. And remember, Ripple has been quietly trademarking a lot of things related to transfers, custody, and infrastructure. They're making their branding more secure and protecting their place around the world. That business isn't going to take it easy. That business is getting ready to grow. When you look at everything as a whole, Brad and David's leadership vision, the Swift tests, the growth of CME futures, and the increase in Ripple's payment corridors, you can start to see the big picture. This isn't about waiting for a moment that will change everything. The switch is already being turned on in stages. All of Ripple's corridors, the institutional contracts that have been signed, and all of the futures contracts that have been traded are steps toward making XRP the world standard for settling transactions. Let's zoom back into those hallways for a moment now. One of the best examples of XRP's ability to instantly connect different currencies happened in the US-Mexico region through Bitso. What used to take a lot of time and money can now be done almost instantly for free. If you multiply that by millions of deals, you have a real business case. Then you have the Philippines route, which is very important for remittances, with cash going from workers abroad to their families back home. It's not just useful for banks. It's life-changing for families who get money right away instead of having to wait days while losing value in fees. Ripple's on-demand liquidity, or ODL, works best here. While ODL uses XRP as the bridge, it is using more stablecoins like RLUSD to be more flexible. This means that financial institutions can easily switch between fiat, stablecoins, and XRP based on what they need to do. This isn't a guess. This is already going on, which is why Ripple has become so important in cross-border payments. Now consider this. Ripple has made its place in the foreign exchange market, which trades $7.5 trillion a day. That's how big the chance is that they are considering. Even if XRP only got a small part of that market, it would still mean billions in volume every day. When that much volume runs through XRP all the time, the price doesn't just move up a little, it goes up a lot, because availability at that level changes the market's view of the asset in a big way. But let's go even further with this. A strong desire from outside the United States is one of the most important signs we've seen lately. Since 45% of CME's XRP futures trade comes from outside the US, it's clear that global markets aren't waiting for the US to keep up. They see the value, the corridors, and the connections, and now they're taking action. This is important because, as we've seen before, the US has to follow when the world tries to lead. This brings us back to the idea layer, which is what Brad Garlinghouse was talking about. Sending an email does not require knowing SMTP. Browsing a web page does not require knowing HTML. Soon you will be able to send money to other countries without knowing anything about blockchains. That's the real progress Ripple is after. Most people will never need to use an exchange or know what a liquidity pool is. All they have to do is hit send, and XRP will take care of everything else. That's how you get a lot of people to use it. Now let's talk about those CME futures numbers again, since they should be set again. In only 2 months, CME's XRP futures and micro futures traded over $1.6 billion. On just July 11th, 63,000 contracts worth $235 million moved in one day. That's hard to believe. Those are not sale numbers. Those are players who work at institutions, and they're making a lot of XRP investments. And remember, CME doesn't just put anything on the list. They are very picky because they serve the world's biggest banks, funds, and hedge firms. It's a clear sign that big companies trust XRP when CME pushes the futures live, and the contracts are instantly among the most traded products. Organizations don't waste time and money sharing things they think aren't important. Here's something else to think about: the rights that Ripple has been getting. Trademarks are a clear sign of long-term plan, but most people don't notice this. Ripple is doing more than just protecting the XRP brand. They are protecting software, security services, future payment systems, and product names. In other words, they are getting ready for a future in which their name will be part of many different kinds of financial, custodial, and enterprise-level services. If you don't plan on serious expansion, you won't spend the time and money to file dozens of trademarks when you run a global business. And with the legal clarity Ripple now has in the US, that's another piece of the puzzle. Ripple was taken to court for almost 4 years because they were thought to have provided an illegal security, and this negative view affected XRP. But now that the court case is over, nothing is stopping them from adopting. Before, some banks and other financial companies were unsure about what to do. Now that they have clarity, they can move on. This is why people who were not involved before are now showing interest again. A lot of regular investors who didn't want to deal with the risk of the lawsuit are now free to join now that the case is over. Now, organizations that are more careful can go ahead. Keep in mind that institutions prefer certainty over danger, and Ripple has provided them with just that. Interoperability is another important angle here. Schwartz spoke about it directly. People won't adopt if they can't quickly transfer money between systems. This is why Ripple isn't just making corridors by themselves. They're working with stablecoins, central banks, and old systems to make a place where XRP is not just one choice. It's the standard way to settle that connects everything. And when you think about Swift's future tests, that's exactly the kind of interoperability the world needs. For a long time, Swift has been the backbone of cross-border operations, but it is slow, out of date, and costly. That is the reason why they are currently trying blockchain solutions. XRP is one of the most talked about tokens when it comes to settlements, whether it's compared to HR or others. That's a lot by itself. Looking back at a larger view, we can see the change from theory to usefulness. The XRP community has been made fun of for talking about usefulness for a long time, while other tokens have benefited from hype cycles. But there is something. When the excitement fades, only the real applications are left. Ripple has created one of the most complete environments in the world of cryptocurrency. From payment corridors to institutional liquidity, CME-listed futures, legal clarity, and Swift integration tests, these are all steps toward widespread use that are happening right now, and the time is crucial. The crypto market as a whole is moving from a phase where everyone was just guessing about its value to one where lawmakers, governments, and institutions want to see it used in the real world. Projects that don't have a purpose will die out, but projects like Ripple, which already have years of work behind them, will do well. That's the split that is happening now. XRP is holding important retracement levels, volumes are going up, roots are expanding, and businesses are quietly building exposure, all of which the market is watching. This orientation is not common. When you see fundamentals and technicals line up together, that's when the market makes the biggest move. Now that Ripple's trademarks are safe, corridors are running, CME contracts are climbing, Swift is testing, and institutions are joining from all over the world. This makes the base stronger than it has ever been. Everything is ready. When we take a step back and think about the end result, we can see that XRP's journey is following the same pattern as every other big technological advancement. To begin, those who are doubtful reject it. Then, a central group of builders quietly begins the work. Finally, the organizations arrive, bringing the life-changing scale with them. Ripple has already made the move from stage 1 to stage 2. Now that we have legal clarity, institutional products, and global corridors, we are moving straight into stage 3. That's why CME's futures numbers are getting so much attention. It's not only about guessing the price, it's about whether it's real. CME is trusted by organizations. They have faith in the market for swaps. That's not just talk from regular people when CME's books suddenly show billions of dollars in XRP. XRP is a real product that is worth investing in, and that's Wall Street money saying so. Ripple is also continuing to strengthen its standing around the world. Their plan isn't based on one market or one relationship, it's a network. Payment routes in North America, Asia, Australia, the Middle East, and Europe. Trademarked custody goods, direct contact with central banks, trying out central bank digital currencies. This is the kind of method that makes sure XRP isn't dependent on just one thing. This is directly related to Swift's tests. Keep in mind that Swift is not a business. More than 11,000 banks and business groups use it as a cooperative. It's the track that carries trillions of dollars every day. It's a big sign of progress for Ripple that Swift is even willing to test XRP as a settlement choice. Swift may not rely solely on XRP, but this news shows that XRP is being seen as a strong candidate for the future of global payment. That's a lot of support. David Schwartz's words on interoperability make this point very clear. People want results, not confusion. For XRP to be widely used around the world, it needs to work easily with systems that are already in place. Ripple is aware of this. That's why they've spent years building up not just technology, but also relationships, legal clarity, and trust in the system. Having a good offering is only part of the equation. It's a different thing to have banks, regulators, and governments ready to use it. At the same time, the chart movement is still making people more excited for what's coming. It's a big deal that the 2.88 golden retracement level is staying strong. If XRP keeps following that backing and news of worldwide adoption keeps coming in, there will be a perfect storm for a big subwave 3 push. It isn't common for technical alignment with basic news to happen. When that happens, the markets move quickly. One more thing that is often ignored is how Ripple has quietly earned people's trust by bouncing back from tough situations. The company survived one of the longest and most intense legal fights in the history of cryptocurrency. They fought against what many people would consider to be the most powerful regulatory body in the world. And when it was all over, they were not only alive, but stronger. People's minds aren't the only thing that success affects. So does the law. Ripple has been through so much that investors and institutions believe they can get through anything now. Riches are attracted to that kind of image. Also, let's not forget that XRP's rise was seen all over the world. Almost half of CME's futures business comes from outside North America, so it's clear that global companies are taking action. They are already in motion. That is the main point. This isn't just about XRP in the US. It is a global product that fixes issues all over the world and is used globally. So what is the conclusion of all this? When XRP is no longer just the third biggest crypto, toward the point where it is seen as a world standard for settling things, that result is becoming more and more likely with every trademark application, every new corridor, every futures contract, and every Swift test run. This is why XRP users are so sure that they are right. It's not based on excitement. It's based on years of seeing Ripple carry out its plans, live, adapt, and grow. And now, as legal clarity and institutional adoption are becoming a reality, that belief is being proven true as it happens. So, if you've been waiting and asking yourself if XRP will really reach its full potential, the answer is now clearer than ever. This is no longer an idea. It's a fact. Not just a guess.